I'm Srishtika and I'm pursuing law back in Bangalore, India. So respected professors from various universities across the globe, it gives me immense pleasure to stand in front of you to share my views on the topic. And I would at the outset like to thank Professor Dharil for giving me this opportunity, and I'm sure my age is as your experiences, and for Professor like Agna ma'am and Professor Richard, it might even be double. So at the end of my presentation, I would like to learn a lot on your views about the topic. So I want to start from the scratch. So what is bioethics? Basically, it's ethics of medical and biological research, and it has a wider ambit where it includes various areas for discussion. When we talk about ethics, it comes to be as moral discernment. And when we have discussion on bioethics, all the questions that raise up are ethical issues. So when such ethical issues arise, they arise among life sciences, biology, philosophy, law, etc. And it is also notable that justice stands as one of the principles in bioethics. So, first I would also want to talk about perspective of an individual to understand the importance of life. Let me start with a small question. Please help me to crack it. So, I'm giving you a situation where you're sitting on the branch of a tree and you're hiding behind the leaves and you're really safe. And you see a deer over there grazing the field, and on the other side you see a lion waiting to pounce upon the deer. And in your hand you have a gun with just one bullet, and you're allowed to shoot it. What would you do? What would you do at this situation?
Say that again. I didn't catch.
Okay. You are sitting on branches of a tree and you're hidden behind the leaves, and you see a deer grazing the field, and you see a lion on the other side hiding behind the tree to pounce upon the deer. And you have a gun and you just have one bullet and you can take one shot. So what would be your act? Anyone?
Not shoot anybody.
I will hide, still continue to hide, and make sure that the lion won't see me.
Okay.
And let it flow like the lion to the deer.
So you're saying you would not take a shot? Yeah.
I will take a shot, but up to the sky.
Oh yes, that was what I was waiting for.
But you have one bullet left?
Yeah, just have
Only
one.
one.
Okay.
So,
Lion then comes to chase and eat you.
yeah, ma'am,
If we chase the lion away, because the sound, the
No.
lion will run away.
I'm a lion, I would come to look for you.
ma'am, why do you shoot the bullet up in the air?
Because I don't want to shoot anyone.
Okay, and because of the sound,
The lion will go away.
the lion will go away or the deer will run away?
Let them.
Okay, anyway. But this is one perspective, but on the other side, we should also understand that the lion has to feed on the deer for its own survival. And that is the law of the world. So this is what it is. People think differently around the globe. Okay? So the topic that is really interesting for me, and one of the most controversial issue right now is euthanasia, mercy killing. So it's an act or practice of killing or bringing death to people who suffer incurable diseases. So we did hear a lot on the presentation about religious tolerances. Does every religion allow mercy killing? No, not every religion. So there are, as I said, people think practically, people think emotionally, and there are certain people who think in both ways. And when we talk about euthanasia, different countries have their own perspective about it. And euthanasia is of three types. One is voluntary, where it's done with the will of the people. Next, it's non-voluntary, when the person's consent is unavailable. And third is involuntary. You do it against the wish of the patient, himself or herself. And in the year 2006, euthanasia, it became an active area of research in bioethics, because before there was discussions on should euthanasia be practiced, but now there's a discussion that says should it be practiced in an active way or should it be practiced in a passive way? Because passive way is just withdrawal of tube, and in active way you just give poison, lethal injections to the person. So in 2018, the law, euthanasia law came into existence in India, and that came after one particular landmark case. That the name of the case is Aruna Shanbag's case. So I'll just give you the factual description so it's easier to understand. So she was born in 1948 and she died in 2015. Out of the whole life, she was in persistent vegetative state for 42 years. So what actually happened was she was a nurse who was working in a hospital, and she was sexually assaulted by a ward boy where he had choked her with a dock chain, and that has resulted to cut off the oxygen to her brain, and she had other injuries and blindness, and from that day for almost 42 years she was in a vegetative state. So when the case came up to the court, the justices in the bench, they agreed, like out of 7 of them, 6 of them agreed saying that euthanasia can be practiced on her. Whereas there was one dissenting judgment given by the justice, and it read, no human has the right to end the life of another individual without the consent of the individual. So then the question arose, like to whom the act of euthanasia be performed? It was then formulated that people who are brain dead, like when you remove them from the ventilator, they are no more, and next is those who are in vegetative state. Everybody has the right to life. Right to life. It is one great article that our constitution also explains. But I personally, and in lot of debates, it is said that right to die is unknown. Nobody has the right to end life. So that is why suicides are punishable. One crime, suicide is one crime that when you commit, you don't have to answer the law. And when you attempt to commit and you don't commit it, you have to answer the law. Because suicide is punishable. So even in Bible, Quran and Rig Veda, they do mention about self-destruction. But on the other side, they preach no harm. Because people usually get confused about what is suicide and what is euthanasia. So when we talk about this in a religious aspect, Hindu says by helping to end a painful life of one person, you are performing a good deed. Because when the person is in a vegetative state, he feels the pain and he is immovable. So one way you perform a good deed. On the other side, it says that when you do that, you are disturbing the cycle of birth and death. So for Muslims, the life is sacred, and for Christians, they are against euthanasia. They say birth and death are part of the complete life process given to us by God, and God has created, and we should respect them. So, though euthanasia has not been defined in religious books as the concept of suicide, they are prohibited by religions. So, there is a case, Airedale NHS Trust, one prominent case. So in that, the House of Lords, they accepted the withdrawal of life support, and they said this is because such withdrawal would only allow the patient who is beyond recovery to die to have a normal death, and where there is no longer any duty to prolong life. And this was then enunciated in more cases later, because euthanasia has been a topic for a debate since a long time. And the dispute is regarding the conflict of interest, because there are conflict of interest as an individual or as a society itself. Because we practice religion, there are people who practice religion, and it is not easy for a government in the secular state to formulate laws against something what a person believes, because we have to respect the belief of the other person as well. So I would also like to put forward the common opinion of people like who support euthanasia. They say you have to support euthanasia because the patient has accepted it. And then also they say, with respect to India, Article 21 talks about right to life, like a person has the right to live. But the same article also talks about living with dignity. So then the question arises, does a person who is in a vegetative state live with dignity? So the next one is, they say performing euthanasia will relieve the intolerable pain, and this gives the right of self-determination. And on the other side, we have people who speak against euthanasia. They say that it is against medical ethics. Nobody can encourage people to end his own life. Yes. And they say the decision at the end, it falls in the hands of the doctor or relatives. So there might even be malified intentions that are being practiced when they decide to practice euthanasia on a person. And there is a term they use saying slippery slope. So they say when you basically accept voluntary euthanasia, that by person will, later gradually you might end up even legalizing non-voluntary and involuntary euthanasias, which is not right. So even if euthanasia is legalized, I feel everybody should not be given the liberty to die for temporary illness just because you cannot bear the pain. So then that would equate the idea of euthanasia and suicide. But on the other hand, factually they both are different. So it is also believed that there must be no potential misuse of the laws. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes.
Any questions for her? So do you have any lectures on bioethics in law school so far?
No, not yet.
Nothing on euthanasia?
No, we did have case studies on euthanasia.
So that's bioethics. And do you have case discussion of human dignity?
Not yet. I'm an international law graduate. I mean, I'm pursuing international law, so I guess in the upcoming semesters we will have.
But euthanasia, you know.
Yeah, euthanasia is one who's controversial.
Before I leave.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not really sure, but I think I read somewhere that there are some countries that allow euthanasia, that, yeah, Swiss, it's like, if you have like a really severe diseases and you can come to that place and they will give you a peaceful death, something like that.
Yeah.
I just want to share
Yeah,
that.
because there are countries that allow euthanasia, like for example Netherlands. They have a particular act, the Termination of Life on Request and Assisted Suicide Act. As you said, even Switzerland has Switzerland Euthanasia Act. But on the other side, there are countries that are totally against the idea of it.
Which one do you think is like more, what is it, respecting the dignity of the person? The country who allowed or the country not allowed?
I say that there must be certain conditions formulated before legalizing it. Like the person should be undergoing an unbearable pain, and the person should have undergone all the possible treatments and with all due care. And only when at the final condition you know any step you're going to take on the person, there is no chance of the person getting back from the bed and walking around. I feel euthanasia can be, but without any malified intentions of anybody.
And one more. You mentioned that about a person in vegetative state is have what dignity? Does the person in the vegetative state has dignity or something?
No, I said Article 21 of our Constitution talks about right to live, right to life, but it says living with dignity. But the person in vegetative state suffers pain, unbearable pain.
So you think that? But you have to load and yes. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
I've heard in the Netherlands, it's been a long time since I've did any reading about this, but about 10, 15 years ago, it came up And in the Netherlands, they've had some problems because, you know, if I'm gonna die and I really don't want to die, but then my kids come and say, Dad, come on, you know, we're spending so much money, why don't you die? And then I become influenced by my children because I don't want to be a burden to my children. So I say, okay, I'll go ahead and, you know, go through euthanasia,
Yeah.
but maybe I don't really want to.
Yeah.
But, and so even though there's, you know, technical signed, you know, consent, it might actually be against my will because I've been persuaded by family members to do it. And apparently in the Netherlands there's been some cases like that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that is what I said. People are against because of this. This is a malified intention at the end of it. Sometimes doctors might feel let's just clear a bed, and our relatives might feel we are spending a lot of money. It's fine. So that's how it is. That's the same case that I took. For 42 years she was in the vegetative state, and like, with all due care, but still she had.
UK.
Good.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
all.
Thank you.